please?
Motion should be there, and it says to approve the site plan review application of Royce Lowe OBO Tag Towers LLC, case number 101-2025.
Thank you. Roll call.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Grossman?
Yes.
The final action to be taken by the board will be to issue a final written decision in the form of a resolution. The board anticipates the resolution will be adopted next Tuesday, July 9th, 2026, which will be mailed to the applicant by certified mail, posted on this board's website, and to any person who sends an email to the board's clerk requesting a copy of the resolution. Within 30 days after the adoption of the resolution, any person adversely affected by such written decision may commence an action in a court of competent jurisdiction as permitted in the Ohio Revised Code and the Telecommunications Act of 1996.
Bruce, is it appropriate for us to make any comments about our reasoning? Would you
will do
recommend-
so in your resolution, if you want to
Okay.
do so next week as well.
Okay, fine, that's what we'll do.
Great. Next, we will begin the public hearing to consider the rezoning application of Restoration Ranch of Ohio to rezone approximately 9.0767 acres from single-family residential, 3-acre density, R1A, to single-family residential, 3-acre density with a PUD, R1A PUD in Union Township. Y'all are keeping me on my toes today. Is there a script for this or no? Bruce, is there a script for this or no?
No script. This
Okay.
is a legislative hearing. No one needs to be sworn in. We usually just start with this is chief zoning official who's already at the lectern.
Hey, Ray.
Good morning.
How are you? Good morning.
Sounds good. Ray Dratt, Director of Building and Zoning, members of the commissioners. I see that we have the applicants in the room with us. I also see that we have representatives from the Sheriff's Department, Union Township, as well as I think the mayor from South Lebanon is here. So I will start Restoration Ranch PUD Stage 1 rezoning. It is in Union Township, and we are here today in front of the Board of County Commissioners. The PowerPoint exhibit number 1, case number is 2026-02. The applicant / owner is Restoration Ranch, Deanna Browning, David Oder, and Donald Oder, trustees. The township is Union Township. The property address is 507 Shawhan Road, Morrow, Ohio, 45152. The property identification number is 1331200-007. The approximate size of the property is 9.074 acres. It has approximately 441.23 feet of frontage. Current zoning is R1A, single-family residential with a 3-acre density. The future land use map shows it as low-density residential. The existing land use is single-family residential. The zoning requested is an R1A PUD, single-family residential with planned unit development. And the issue for consideration is to rezone from R1A, single-family residential zone to R1A PUD, single-family residential with planned unit development, PUD, a zone to allow an institutional care facility along a local roadway. The rezoning process, we were in front of the Regional Planning Executive Committee on March 26th, and they recommended approval with conditions. We then went to the Warren County Rural Zoning Commission, and they recommended denial on April 7th, and we are here today for your ultimate decision. Here's a vicinity map so you can get a feel for where you're at. You can see that this is South Lebanon on this side, We have Shawhan Road that goes up into the north, Mason Mara, Millgrove, and the river are to the south. I have additional pictures so you can get your bearing. A vicinity, you see Deerfield Cemetery, northwest, you see Spicer Memorial, southwest, on the other side of Shawhan. Real live picture, you'll see the site outlined in red. You can see South Lebanon to the west, and the no zone area to the right, east. Part of the last hearing, there were some questions about distances from the proposed site to residential structures, as well as the pond or lake, whatever, it's the stone quarry. And you can see to the east is approximately 0.43 miles from the property border to the edge of that pond. To the north, you see approximately 615 feet. That's from the residence to the nearest point of encroachment to the residence to the north. And then you see approximately 430 feet to the west. That's from the structure to structure. A closer view of what's currently there, and you see the boundary of where the proposed rezoning will occur. Here's a street view that you can see going north on Shawhan. Here's the notification map outlined in blue. Here's the zoning. The current zoning, as we indicated, is R1A, and you can see that continues to the north. And to the east is the court-ordered no zone. And then to the west, on the outside of that red dotted line, is the city of South Lebanon. The proposed would be the same, except in the blue area would be the R1A with a PUD overlay.
Hold on one second. Bruce, why is that no zone court ordered? Is that part of the?
There was an attempt.
I know you want to really answer that question,
Yeah,
Sanjay.
there was a court action that found the zoning unconstitutional. There was an attempt to rezone it. And the Rural Zoning Commission could not come to a consensus either to recommend approval or denial. And I believe that was back prior to change in law on zoning. And prior law on zoning provided that the Board of County Commissioners could only deviate from the recommendation of the Rural Zoning Commission by a unanimous vote. The law has since changed. It's now just a simple majority like everything else. But because the Rural Zoning Commission could not make a recommendation to you, I opine that the county commissioners had no recommendation as mandated by the statute to be able to move forward on it, and that it never was brought back after that. Today, I'd probably give a different opinion. I'd probably say that no recommendation is the equivalent of a denial, but at the time, with the law being different, at the time I said there's nothing for the commissioners to consider, and the applicant never brought it back again. And the court had ordered it, the zoning on it prior to all that is unconstitutional. So therefore, the zoning was not, the zoning mapping of it was invalid and enforceable. Been a long time.
Yeah, I just don't remember anything like that
Yes,
other than,
for your time.
yeah, so this has been more than 20 years and.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought maybe it was part of the Stotley, but that was a different area, but that's the only other court order that I can think of.
No, it was not.
Okay.
Part of zoning.
Sorry, Ray.
You're welcome. So here is a definition out of the rural zoning code, the definition of a institutional care. I won't spend a lot of time on it because they've rewritten it for their own PUD standards. The zoning, the Warren County Rural Zoning Code permits institutional care facilities in the R1A zoning district as a conditional use subject to BZA approval. The institutional care facilities are subject to use-specific standards outlined in 3.203.4. One of the use specific standards for institutional care facilities requires that these uses are located along a road designated as a collector or greater in capacity. And then below, you'll see the institutional care, R1A is listed as a conditional use. The purpose used is classified as an institutional care facility which requires frontage on a roadway that is a collector or greater. The proposed site does not meet this requirement, therefore the PUD process is required. In blue, access is provided from Shawhan, which is designated as a local road. The next one, institutional care facilities, 3A1, in red, access to the use is provided by a road that is classified as a collector or greater in capacity. Here is the residential treatment center for children definition as provided by the applicant. A state licensed nonprofit institutional care facility that provides therapy, counseling, and holistic support for up to 21 persons of the age 18 or below, using evidence-based trauma-informed therapeutic approaches to address emotional and behavioral challenges in children and provide a safe, secure residential environment for children to live on site, participate in educational activities, develop life skills, and prepare for a successful transition to independent living. Some of the surrounding zonings, as we previously discussed, there's that court-ordered no zone. We threw this in here just to give you an idea. You can see that the city of South Lebanon is in close proximity. You'll see R1A to the north. There is the PUD, which is Aberlin Springs to the north, and then the no zone to the east. The flood map, obviously, there's no flood on this particular site, but you can see down towards the river, Mason Morrow, Millgrove, it is a concern in that area. The surrounding land uses, this is just a chart. It's pretty much surrounded on three sides by the court-ordered no zone. And then to the west, R1A, R3 single-family, multifamily residential, which is South Lebanon.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
About that previous slide? Could you put that back up again?
Yes, sir.
Is the COV, is that an agricultural use valuation?
The what?
When you say CAUV, is that the
Yes.
Agricultural use valuation?
It is. It's by
So
the
that's,
auditor's
so the
page.
north property is agricultural, the southern property is agricultural, the eastern property is agricultural, and apparently there was some zoning issue where they ordered no zone for something. And then across the street directly is a cemetery.
Yes, sir.
That's
Now,
what I thought, because when you showed the picture of it, I saw all the tombstones. So that's, right across the street is, what cemetery is that?
Yeah, so this is a good map, sir. And remember that the CAUV, that's something that the auditor issues, but, so the way the land is laid out, all this area is what
It's
you're
all
referencing.
agricultural.
That is correct.
Okay.
That's the current CAUV designator on that surrounding property. Here, once again, I guess I could have just gone one forward. You'll see the uses. So you got residential to the west, the cemetery directly north, some residential directly north, CAUV vacant land, and then the Miami View Mining Company owns that property, and then residential to the south in the South Lebanon Trailer Park.
Can I ask you another question?
Absolutely.
So you mentioned the, what was it, Collector Road? So
Yes.
the issue with this usage, and the reason why they're seeking a zoning, approval from us today, is because it's not on a collector road. This road that it's on, which is this Shawhan Road, is not a collector road, and, but that, does that relate to provision of fire services or something, or is there some problem with the, where's the fire station and the facilities for fire and emergency services?
That would be down in the city of South Lebanon.
What we do, can you locate it on this map?
It's probably just out of the picture, but down in this area, Chris, is that pretty close?
pretty close.
It's about what's the distance between that fire station EMS and this property?
A mile, 1.25 miles, it's not very far.
Okay.
But
And
the use, because, you know, there may be some associated traffic, additional traffic with the use, that's why it typically requires a collector or grader.
Okay, so we'll find out from the applicant if that's true.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So here's the Warren County future land use map. You can see that the area in question is low-density residential. So the proposal here today is to rezone 9.074 acre parcel from R1A to R1A PUD to allow residential treatment center for children. The center would provide care for up to 21 boys aged 18 or younger. The existing home will be utilized. The proposing to build a 5,600 square foot gymnasium in the future, and one access point from Shawhan Road, which is already existing.
So they're not gonna change the access to the property, and they're not gonna, in terms of housing people, it's all gonna be in the existing structure?
That's what the applicant is proposing, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Here's the site plan that was provided. You can see that everything outlined in red is existing barn, existing two-story, that's where they would utilize for the facility, and there's another existing garage. And then in the brown is the new proposed gymnasium. If that comes to in the future, I'm not sure, but they wanted to present anything that was a possibility. So site plan, going through that just briefly, existing buildings will remain, the house, the garage, and the barn. The existing septic, when this was submitted, that was legit, but now we've received information from the health department that they'll have to be governed by the state because the 21 users provide too much for an on-site septic, so they have to do something different. And I think they're fully aware of that, and I think they're gonna work on that. The existing pool will be filled in. The proposed gymnasium in purple, once again, that's just a proposal. And that's the location of the proposed dumpster. There are requirements for screening and stuff like that for the dumpster. The access, one access point from Shawhan Road, which I said is existing. The existing driveway will remain. The existing gated entry will remain. And that's a picture of the gate. The driveway and drive aisles were made of an improved surface, asphalt or concrete. They can't use gravel or unimproved surfaces. Parking spaces will be a total of 8. Parking areas to be improved surface of asphalt or concrete. There'll be the existing 4-car garage in the residence will be utilized. The proposed outdoor parking will be 4 spaces total. 3 will be standard spaces, and 1 will be ADA compliant. This is the site plan overlaid real-time photo. You can see kind of where it lays out in perspective to the surrounding area. So landscaping, the PUD standards are different from what they are going to propose. So the PUD standards, there shall be a minimum buffer distance of 50 feet from the side lot lines and 40 feet from the rear lot line. Landscaping and screening will be provided in accordance with the development plan attached here to as Exhibit 2, including a landscaping buffer along the front lot line and abutting Shawhan Road. The development plan illustrates landscaping along Shawhan and to the rear of the house. So the areas in green that's the only place that they're going to do landscaping. Everything else, they did not, and I'm not gonna include that in their PUD standards. So this is what you're gonna see for landscaping. Continuing on that landscaping buffer, once again, landscaping and screening buffer type D along with 2 shrubs per 10 linear feet shall be provided along the side and rear lot lines. That's not gonna be, they're not gonna adhere to that. The proposed PUD standards, permitted uses. The permitted uses, the principal use will be the residential treatment center, which is gonna be identified with a P. And then the accessory uses are a recreational facility, indoor, including indoor gymnasium, recreational facility, outdoor active, including equestrian activity, and recreational facility, outdoor passive. The prohibited uses, all land uses other than those expressly provided in 4.1 above are prohibited and may not occur within without an amendment to this R1A PUD. So here it is in the chart. You can see on the left what is currently permitted, and then on the right in red is what they have narrowed it down to. So institutional care will be permitted, single-family residential, no, churches, no, healthcare, no, telecommunication towers, no, bed and breakfast, no, recreational facility, indoor, outdoor active, and outdoor passive will be permitted. Commissioner Grossman, back to the question. Here's a diagram of Shawhan Road. It shows it as a local road, a 50-foot road right-of-way. That's the existing. The thoroughfare plan shows a 70-foot right-of-way and approximately 12-foot wide lanes of travel. We get to the, yes, sir.
Is the requirement for a collector road with this, is that because of the usage by this facility on the road? Or is it because of emergency vehicles usage to the facility on the road? Why do we have this collector road requirement for a facility like this?
When the zoning code was written, it was based upon the definition that falls under the subcategory of a facility, institutional care facility. So institutional care facilities, which this facility falls within, or definition falls within, that was chosen by them as it best fit their use. Those have the requirements of the collector and above. I mean, it's probably based on emergency services, it's based on vehicles that are associated with the institutional care facility, whether it's a dual axle bus or the amount of traffic that goes in and out to facilitate that type of a use. So when they come up and they speak, they may answer that question, but from the zoning standpoint, it was designed based on the institutional care facility and what it takes to operate that type of a facility.
Maybe
So
planning would be better at answering Commissioner Grossman's question if you want to hear from them at some point.
Okay.
Because Ray wasn't around at the time when we went through the text amendment, and planning would have been the drafter before it went through the public hearing process.
Okay, thank you.
So the RPC Executive Board, they made a vote 6-5 for recommendation of approval, and they listed these following conditions. 3, the facility will house no more than 21 children under the age of 18. The applicant receives a determination from Warren County Engineers Office regarding necessary stormwater management. The applicant shall comply with the requirements of the Warren County Combined Health District. Once again, I think that's already been issued because I have a letter here I will show you. 6, the applicant shall comply with the requirements of the Warren County Soil and Water Conservation regarding its soil and erosion, and the applicant installs a buffer as illustrated in the concept plan, which they've agreed to do, and I showed you that in outlined in green. The RZC recommendation on April 7th, 2026, the Rural Zoning Commission voted unanimously 4-0 to recommend denial of the rezoning case 2026-02. Present for the recommendation were Chairman Ralph Campbell, Ed Brzezinski, Dan Jenkins, and Jim Gibbs. The recommendation was based on Warren County Rural Zoning Code Section 1.304.5, specifically D. Is the proposed zoning compatible with the present zoning, nearby uses, and the character of the surrounding area? As well as G, are there available sites elsewhere in the county that are already zoned for the proposed use? Here is a slide that we added. So this was the resolution from the Warren County Board of Commissioners 20-14331, October 6th, 2020. And that was basically granting this exact use at the site over off of Union Road. So to put it into perspective, here's the Racino, Core 5, the Traders World is here, and then Union Road is here, their church is here, and that is the area that was approved. And there's a map of what was submitted at the time of that approval.
Well, why is that relevant to today's decision?
It basically based on G, right? The decision that they were, our ZC used was that there was already something approved in the area or in the county for this particular use.
So okay, I want to go back to D and G, because I don't understand either one of them, but now I think I understand them a little bit better. So G is based upon the fact that we previously approved what you just showed up in your slide before you put that one back up. We approved of this Restoration Ranch at that location on Union Road next to the Solid Rock Church. And as I recall, Turtle Creek Township opposed this. And we then disagreed and we approved it. And it's still approved for that usage. And for, well, what I'm sure we're gonna be told, that there's a reason why they're not doing it there.
Sure.
Do you know that reason, by the way?
They indicated, but I will let the
I'll let them
applicants speak
tell
on
us
that.
that
Yeah,
way.
yes, sir.
But that, if that is not allowed, an allowed usage any longer by the owner of the property, would that, if we were told, for example, that that is not going to be permitted to be used that way by the owner of the property, hence they're searching for another property, would that affect that decision point? And you understand my question? Or my question is this: if that site is no longer available for the Restoration Ranch usage there, would that affect the judgment of the, that was done by the Rural Zoning Board or whatever it was, that denied this?
That would be a legal question for Bruce, but I can,
The answer is no,
Yeah.
because they cited two provisions in 1.3.
Oh, I agree, Bruce, I'm just saying on that one, would it, the G one, would it mean that the G is no longer an applicable criteria to deny?
they may, but remember that without going back through the process, when you pull that up on GIS, you're gonna see a case assigned to the
I'm
property.
just asking the question, my only question is this: if the basis is that there's another property that they could use, and that we approved this, I mean, this board did this, and it was in 2020, it wasn't too long ago. We approved this exact usage for this Restoration Ranch at that location, and that's one of the bases for the denial. And I'm saying, if that is no longer available, that basis, I'm not saying that there's not another basis, there is one, but that basis would no longer be viable for denial. That's my question.
Once again, my professional opinion is that land has been designated to do exactly what they're doing.
It
It
is.
carries that case, and without
It
coming
is.
back in front of you to change that,
No, that's not what I mean.
right, then it would have to be used for what
I
it
mean,
is.
it's clearly able to be done there if the owner of the property permits it. What if the owner doesn't permit it now?
Then they would be coming back in front of you, as long as
Why would they come back in front of us?
because the use is currently approved, it
No,
has.
that's not my point. Maybe I'm not asking this question correctly.
I mean, they don't want anything on there.
Yeah, they don't want- yeah, the
Let's just
people
say
that
the
currently-
owner of the property, they've decided, I don't want anything on there, there's no need for a zoning change. They're fine with whatever the zoning is, they're just saying, this is my property and I don't want anything built on it, period,
That's-
end of story. So
So-
no, I think the question is, if that's the case, then does there really exist an alternative location for which this facility can locate?
That was a much better way of phrasing it.
And once
You'll
again,
have the opportunity to make that the same judgment using the same factors yourself.
Okay, thank you. Very good. Oh, and by the way, going back to the previous one, the other decision point that they made, can you go back to that graph
Yes, sir.
where you had the decision point? Is the proposed zoning compatible with the present zoning, nearby uses and character of the surrounding area? So that's sort of a judgment call. You got surrounded by farmland and a cemetery. But I take it that, are they looking at the fact that there are residences that are not too far away? Is that what they're thinking about?
I believe that, I don't know what the thought process was. I know I was present for their hearing, and that's what they based it upon.
Yeah, but I'm wondering, is they're not using the fact that there's a cove all around it on three sides that is agricultural. They're not saying it's incompatible with an agricultural usage, are they?
They did not specifically.
They're not saying it's
identify- what I'm saying
incompatible.
is
Well, I'm
you-
just wondering what the incompatible use is.
When you
It's
hear
not-
when you hear the residents here today, I'm sure that what they will provide you with may help you with that process.
Okay, but, so I'm just looking at, I'm sure the residences, many of them are here today, are gonna object to it, and it's because of their residential usage. I'm asking you what the decision was by the RZC. Was the RCC, because I don't think they were looking at a cemetery, and I don't think they were looking at a farm. So I think they must have been looking at the residences.
Residential,
That's my
surrounding property.
question. It's the residential objection.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And then also, part of the RZC thought process, it did not involve the collector road issue.
Remember, they didn't cite that specific issue. They based it on the criteria that was their rezoning decision, and so they applied it to the denial for D and G.
Okay, so
When you-
ultimately, my read on this, but maybe somebody's gonna explain this. My read on this is that the decision, assuming that that other property is no longer available, the decision was based upon the objections that we're about to hear today from neighboring residential areas. I think that's it.
I'm sure that and G,
And I'm not diminishing that, I'm wanting to understand it, that's all.
yes, sir.
Okay.
Here's a letter that we received. It's basically from the South Lebanon mayor, expressed and highlighted as expressing unwavering support of Union Township and the King School District in their opposition to the rezoning. And then at the bottom, our community lacks the resources to support such a significant change. I believe she's here today. Union Township trustees, they did not provide us with a letter, but they were present for every hearing, including the RPC Executive Board, and they are here today to speak from their standpoint. The Department of Resources, water and sewer, obviously they have no bearing, but the water is Western Water. Here's the Health Department, and you'll see that in yellow would exceed 1,000 gallons per day, meaning they will fall under the Ohio EPA jurisdiction. Water and soil had no issues. The sheriff is here today, and I believe he's provided you with an analysis, but his point is we as an office are not in a position to contest the application, nor should we. However, there is a very clear assumption our call volume will increase on par with what the city of Monroe has faced. Here is the rezoning criteria that you will utilize today for your decision-making process. A continuation of that rezoning criteria. Additionally, the PUD Stage 1 review criteria is also for you to consider. A continuation of the PUD Stage 1 review criteria. And that concludes the presentation. I'm open to any questions that you may have.
Any questions by the board?
I've asked my questions.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll point out one thing to Commissioner Young, there is another factor listed as age
in rural zoning said that?
No, that's one of the factors in our zoning code. They did not make any statement related to that. You just asked, did they, and I'm pointing out to you, they may not have, but you might look at that factor as you hear the testimony from the applicant as well as any proponents or opponents.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, so at this time, I guess we'll hear from the applicant.
Good morning, Honorable Commissioners. My name is J.P. Burley. I'm with the law firm of Suter LLC, and I'm an attorney here on behalf of the applicant, Restoration Ranch of Ohio, Inc. I really appreciate the chance to speak with you today about a project that I am confident, once you hear all of the information, you will conclude is certainly in the public interest. Some of you might be familiar with Restoration Ranch already. They are currently operating at an existing PUD, also in Warren County, very close to the Solid Rock Church. It's actually owned by Solid Rock Church. That PUD was created around 2020, and Restoration Ranch for several years since then has been doing excellent work, providing much needed services and housing for boys 18 and under, many of which are from right here in Warren County. And you'll hear from several members of Restoration Ranch about the strength of their operation, the success of the kids that graduate this program, and the genuine need for this type of service in Warren County.
So Counselor, so it
Yes.
is an ongoing concern. They're doing this work now, but they're doing it at the location in Monroe. Are they doing it in the church? Because apparently there's nothing been built on the approved rezoning that we did. Where are they doing this?
Sure.
mission?
Commissioner Young, I think your question is what's happening at the current site and why can they not just continue using that? And I think that was a point of confusion at the Rural Zoning Commission, and we want to address it directly here today. You're going to hear from Mr. Dietrich Johnson, who's the Executive Director of Restoration Ranch, as well as Mr. Chris Santucci, who is the Head of Operations. You'll also hear from their realtor, Coldwell Banker. All of them are going to explain that the current site is no longer viable. Essentially, Solid Rock Church is moving in a different direction. They want to create a school there. And so, unfortunately, Restoration Ranch has to find another location.
So let me, so you saw my questions about that topic. And one of the criteria that they used for rejecting the current application was that there was an alternative site, a la the site we approved in 2020, over the objection of Turtle Creek Township. It was during COVID, everybody was out in the hallway, okay, we approved that site. Are you saying today that Solid Rock Church, which owns the property, is telling the Restoration Ranch to vamoose, to leave, that they no longer have permission to be there? Is that the problem?
That's absolutely correct, Commissioner Grossman. And beyond that, there is no other viable site in the county. And you will hear detailed testimony about the search.
Well, the only site that they focused on was the one that we already approved.
Yeah.
And if you're telling me that that is no longer viable because the church that owns it has told them that it must cease operations there and will not be used for that purpose, I guess that means it's off the table.
Yes, and unfortunately, the situation that Restoration Ranch is in is it's this site or nothing. This is the only option they have at this point. And what you will hear specifically from Mr. Johnson when he gets up here is that if they cannot get approval to operate at this location, Restoration Ranch will likely have to disband. The existing children who are living at the current location will likely be displaced and have to go live somewhere else.
But I understood Commissioner Young's question to be, we know they're not operating at the approved site because nothing has been built there, correct?
I don't think that is accurate. I mean, they have been operating there.
But are
They
they
haven't done-
operating inside the church itself, or is there
No,
some?
it's a separate- it's a
So
separate
there is a building
Yes,
that
that's correct.
exists on the site that we approve, and they
That
are
is correct.
operating in there. So there is an actual facility
Yeah,
that's been built.
that is correct.
And
Well,
is it-
I just want to be clear, I don't believe they developed that facility, but there is a building that exists where these children
That is owned
have
by the
been living.
church, and
Yes.
so it's not the sanctuary itself.
That is-
It's another building that is in this particular, location.
That is
we-
correct,
Okay.
yes. So notably, we did a little bit of research. There's actually precedent on at least one other occasion, the Board of County Commissioners determining that a PUD is a good tool to allow an operation like this to proceed in the county. And that's Midwestern Children's Home. It's located at 132 and Rochester Cosadale Road. May I approach the dais? And so what you have in front of you is another resolution to create a PUD for essentially a group home for boys, a residential treatment facility, very similar to what Restoration Ranch is proposing here today. So this is another example of a time that the county has determined that an operation like this is in the public interest.
Counselor, wasn't this an existing operation?
I'm not certain about that, Commissioner.
Bruce, wasn't this an existing operation?
I think so, maybe someone from planning has another recommendation.
This-
So the sheriff shaking his head, yes.
Yeah, it absolutely was, yeah, this has been going on, that activity, the one you're referencing, has been going on, I believe, at that location for a very long time. This would just happen to be a rezoning associated with
What
that,
year was that?
2011.
Well, why would they rezone something for an existing usage that was already there?
Probably because they did it to a PUD, if I remember correctly, about building additional things, they didn't have the zoning, they were expanding it, something along those
That's
lines.
correct.
If-
That's correct.
I don't know where I pulled that out of left field, but I don't remember what I had for breakfast, but.
I was a very young person and was not on the board, so I'm unfamiliar with that.
Okay, so what is is your point about this, that we approved a similar usage in another location in the county? And I think the response from Commissioner Young is, it was already approved, they were just doing something for another purpose.
And that might very well
But
be
it's
true.
germane,
I'm
I
just
was
trying
just saying
to,
the same thing, that, hey, you guys have done this before, look at this.
yes.
I mean, that's relevant, but it's not exactly the same situation.
Sure. I just want to emphasize that what we are asking for is not unprecedented. This is something that the board has done before and is not out of the ordinary.
And so from your research, there are no other juvenile home facilities that take either abused and neglected children or delinquent children and house them in this county, as opposed, I mean, juvenile courts can send kids to lots of places, but one of the places is kind of like a prison. It's not a prison, but it's like a detention facility. It's not in our county. But then there are also some times where courts have created, or counties have created, or there have been private associations have created, or organizations have created a home that accepts both delinquent and abused, neglected, or one or the other group of children. And this is such a place, the one that you're giving us, this
That's correct,
Midwestern
from my
Children's
understanding,
Home?
yes.
And what jurisdiction is that in?
Ours?
Oh, no, I mean, but what
I believe it's Harlan
township?
Township. if I'm not
Little
mistaken.
Creek Township?
Harlan.
Harlan.
No, it's Pleasant Plain, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So what is here before you today is a request to create a similar, essentially single-purpose PUD to accommodate Restoration Ranch's services and operation. As you heard from Mr. Pratt, it's very narrow, focus only on the anticipated operations of Restoration Ranch. So you are not going to have a bait and switch and someone else comes in and does something completely different. The regulations, specifically the permitted uses that have been proposed, are very specific to Restoration Ranch's operations. In terms of physical development, the site's going to remain almost entirely the same. They're going to be housing the children in the primary building that's located generally in the center of the site. The detached garage will remain there. That will be one of two areas for parking. There'll also be striping some of the driveway for additional parking. In total, there will be 8 parking spaces, which will be more than enough to accommodate the traffic on any given day. The children themselves do not drive. We're really just talking about the employees themselves and an occasional visitor. On any given day, you're probably not likely to have more than 5 or 6 cars parked on this site, and all of those will be on site. There's a detached barn toward the rear lot line that is going to remain in place. They hope to incorporate equestrian therapy into their operation. That's the ranch side of Restoration Ranch. And you'll hear from Mr. Santucci in a bit that working with horses has a lot of proven therapeutic benefits for children dealing with trauma-related issues. And so having a rural site where they had the space to do something like that was a core part of why they were looking at this site, which again, it's 9 acres, as Commissioner Grossman commented. It's surrounded on 3 sides by vacant rural land. To the west, there's a cemetery and a park. From our perspective, it's not likely to really have an effect on any adjacent properties, and it's certainly compatible with the existing land uses and overall character of the surrounding area. The Planning Commission concluded the same. They were focused on the specific land uses that are immediately abutting the property, and they determined that this was compatible and something that was supported by the criteria in your zoning resolution. And I do want to share a quote that I think is worth thinking about as you're talking about other proposed sites. Again, there are no other sites. It's this or nothing. And one of the commissioners specifically noted how difficult it is for an operation like this to get zoning approval. And there was some discussion about the court-ordered no zone, and the comment this commissioner made was, if it can't go next to a mine, where can it go? I mean, this is a use that, frankly, no matter where you put it, people are going to object. They recognize that this is important and it's good for the community, but they don't want it near them. That is always going to be the response. And unfortunately, this is not a situation where the board is determining between this location or that. It's this location or nothing. And as you will hear, the specific services that Restoration Ranch is providing to their boys are absolutely in the county's interest. It's an absolute public good, and the public interest will not be served by denying this PUD, essentially denying Restoration Ranch the ability to continue operating.
Counselor, since you're hitting on the
Yes.
theme of all or nothing, is it not germane to the discussion that Midwest Children's Home does exist inside of the county and has for a long time, and it has a similar mission?
Well, Commissioner, my point was simply that for Restoration Ranch, which has.
So for your client specifically, it's
Yes.
all or nothing?
Yes.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that this community of citizens who need services won't get the services, potentially.
I think you could reasonably assume that there would be disruptions and that those services might not all be able to be provided in the county. And I think Mr. Santucci will explain to you that having these kids be displaced and go to other homes is likely to re-trigger existing trauma.
There's no evidence that the other home could accommodate all the children that currently Restoration Ranch is serving and housing and helping. Is there some, is this other place that they could take these children?
I don't have any information that would suggest that. My understanding, Commissioner, is that most facilities like this are at capacity. So we do have several speakers who can help you understand a little bit more about the nature of what Restoration Ranch does and their track record in the county. We have Mr. Santucci, who's about to come up here. He's actually going to introduce a few of the kids themselves. You'll get to hear about why they enjoy living at Restoration Ranch so much. You'll also hear from Mr. Dietrich Johnson, who's going to specifically address the issue with the existing site and why that's no longer workable. You're going to hear from Ms. Carol Dorsey at Coldwell Banker about how in their search for a site, this was really the only option. Ms. Lauren Klaus is a board member of Restoration Ranch. Ms. Karma Foster is a therapist at Restoration Ranch, and Mr. Akeem Fuller is also an employee. So I thank you in advance for your time, because I realize this is going to take a while to get through, but I think it's very important that you have full and accurate information. That's all I'll say. Thank you in advance for your attention. Mr. Santucci, take it away.
Morning, Commissioners. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. I'm actually going to start my piece with the 3 young men who just walked in who dressed better than me today. I don't know why you did that. Come on up, guys. You're good. Say next to me. You're all the time, man. Proud of you guys. All right. So just to introduce you to the kids, take a little step down that way. Just to introduce you to a couple of kids that we serve. I've told you guys this behind closed doors, but proud of you for being here. And so, what's your name?
Dante.
How old are you, Dante?
11.
11?
I'm 12.
That's all right. What school did you go to this year?
Monroe
Was that in elementary or middle?
Elementary.
Elementary. And you guys did some pretty cool stuff, I think, right? What did you do this year?
We went to Camp Gamble Guard.
Nice. Do you have a dodgeball tournament?
Yeah.
Did you win?
Sort of.
So the other team cheated, it's fine. You should have won, right?
We were against 6th graders.
No, you did your best. Is there anything else you really like about being able to go to school in Monroe, even though you live at Restoration Ranch?
That.
Probably you don't have to see these guys all day.
Yeah,
Is that
Monroe was a good place for me, and this place really helps me with emotions.
That's good, man. Last question for you. And you can't say me, all right? Who's your favorite staff member?
Mr. Cornell,
Mr. Cornell? Why is that?
because he's very active.
Yeah, he's always playing basketball with you guys. He's getting you active. Awesome. Good job, buddy. Appreciate it. All right, you're up, my man. What's your name?
Eli,
How old are you?
18.
Just turned 18. Right. So for you, you're about to leave soon, right? So you've been talking with us and your mom. A little about future. Talk to us about your future. What are you thinking? What's next?
I'm going to college.
Yeah. What are you gonna study?
Cooking.
And then when you learn that, you're gonna come back to the ranch and cook for us. Right? That's the deal. I'm just kidding. Well, cool. And what school did you go to?
Marshall.
And you walk. When do you walk?
Next Friday.
Next Friday. You get your diploma and everything. That's cool. Ever think you get that when you first started here? Yeah. Who's your favorite staff member?
Miss Rhonda.
Miss Yolanda. Okay, why?
She's nice. She has a kind heart.
She does. She has a good way of talking and helping you calm down, right? We're proud of you, man. Good job. Last but not least, what's your name, my man?
Kevin,
How old are you, Kev?
16,
16. Where do you go to school?
Marshall High School.
Marshall. What do you like best about Marshall?
The staff,
Yeah, they got good teachers there, good staff help you out.
yes.
That's good. And what's your favorite thing to do with the ranch when you're not doing therapy or doing school and all that stuff?
Journal.
Journal?
Journal.
Cool. I won't ask you what you write about, but we'll talk about it later. And then who is your favorite staff member?
I would have to say Mr. King.
He's a good one. Why?
We talk about life together.
I love life.
Gives me advice about life.
It's important. Well, hey, I'm not gonna keep you guys any longer. to or no? It's up to you. I'll ask the question, you answer if you want to.
No.
Because, I'm transparent with you guys. Commissioners, to be transparent, I would assume that walk-offs or AWOLs are gonna come up today in public concern, so we're gonna be transparent. And Kevin, you struggled with that recently, if we're being honest. And so just simply put, man, when you did that, when you walked away from the ranch, why did you do it? Where were you trying to go?
Honestly, I was trying to see family, and something just told me not to, and I just wanted to get away from the ranch for just a while.
Just wanted to get away, have a little bit of freedom, and I know you and I talked, you missed your family, that's a real thing. I think every person in the world and every kid would miss their family, so it's understandable. And so when you were gone, and you weren't gone very long, you were brought back without any issue, but while you were gone, did you commit any crimes?
No,
Did you want to commit a crime?
no,
You try to hurt somebody?
no,
Did you want to hurt somebody?
no,
Just trying to get back home, right?
yes.
Okay. So it's very clear that we understand those things do happen, but you heard it from living proof why we do those things that we do and the risks that are there and the ones that are perceived to be there. Great job, guys. Appreciate you. Well, back at the ranch. You want to do the worm, that's it, guys.
To the commissioners, the goal is for the kids to be able to leave after this, so if you have any questions, I would ask them now.
Hey, can I just say, hey fellas, thanks for showing up today and appreciate you guys. You did a good job. I know that's not always the easiest thing, but we appreciate you showing up.
And by the way, stick to it, be successful, obey the rules.
I do have just one question. Where are you going to college?
At Cincinnati State.
Cincinnati State, the culinary arts, you said? Excellent. Well, good luck to you.
Thank you.
Great, well, absolutely. That's a great school to go to for that.
Thanks, fellas.
Speaking of which, go
you.
get some lunch. Thank you for your attention, we appreciate it. I'm gonna pivot quickly to Mr. Johnson, who's gonna, actually further break down the topic we discussed earlier about the PUD and our current location and why we have to vacate.
Thanks, Chris. Well, good morning, everyone. I appreciate everyone being here today and listening to us. Some of this topic has already come up already regarding the PUD, so I'm just going to break it down a little bit. I don't want to go into too much detail because we kind of already have an answer. I want to give you an opportunity to have any more questions regarding it. RR Restoration Ranch has been in a partnership with Solid Rock for the last 6 to 7 years. This partnership has gone fairly well overall. We've been very thankful to have an opportunity to be at Solid Rock, to grow, have a facility, and really the expedition, really growth has happened very rapidly there. And that has actually reached us to capacity, so we've been trying to figure out what's our next steps. So naturally, it's going to lead us to expansion conversations. For the last 2 years, we've looked at options such as purchasing a building on the current site, building on the current site, and then using the current PUD, which has been denied by the owner, which we kind of discussed already. So that led us to have to think outside the box. What's our next steps for where can this facility go? So we looked at purchasing land, finding another facility that we can purchase, and it's been extremely difficult to find somewhere that this facility could go. That's been several different challenges. As I mentioned, SRC and Restoration Ranch are partners currently. We've worked pretty well together, but partnerships change, partnerships end. That's where we are currently. We are not a ministry at SRC. We pay rent, we pay for our utilities. Any other costs, we pay ourselves. We are a completely separate entity from SRC. So with that, we have different aspirations, and so do they. SRC has the goal of bringing a Christian education to their facility, and want to service thousands of students. So they have already currently partnered with Lebanon Christian Schools. They have a contract with them, and puts us in a very tight spot. So we have to be out by the fall. So that really leads us to not a lot of options.
Have they ordered you out?
They've given us a letter, yes,
And they've told you to vacate on a particular date?
by September 1st.
The church has or the school? You went at a
The church has.
Okay.
The church has. They're in
And the
partnership
church
with the school.
owns the property that you operate on?
Correct.
And they've told you you must vacate with the boys, and is it also got girls or is it just boys?
It is just boys.
Okay.
ages
You
11
have
to
to
18.
leave, all of you have to leave by September 1.
Correct.
And do you have placements from juvenile courts? Is that how you get your children?
So it varies. Mr. Hendricks is going to go into that in depth, but it varies. Some of them are from juvenile court. Some of them come from direct placements. Some of them are, they were in a group home and now they may need a residential care. So it varies from different counties. Great
So,
question.
so you're the executive director?
Correct.
How many young men do you have in the facility currently?
10 currently.
So you have 10. How many, you said something about different surrounding jurisdictions. How many of your 10 are actually from Warren County?
I'm sorry, currently, I think we described it. Yeah, we don't have any from Warren currently.
I'm sorry?
We don't have any from Warren currently.
So out of the 10, 0 are actually from Warren County?
Correct.
Okay.
Like I said, it varies. They graduate. We've had plenty from Warren County. Actually, our top graduate was from Warren County, which we spoke about during our last.
What is it, how long do the boys usually stay with you?
Anywhere between 6 months to a year, typically.
The typical stay is anywhere from 6 months to a year, so it's a transition period for them.
Correct. Okay, we try to make a very deep impact while they are in our care. Any other questions at the moment?
Well, it just leads to the demographics of who your customers, the boys that come. If they're not from Warren County and you said this is the only spot you can do it in the county, why wouldn't you have the home in one of the jurisdictions that produces the most of your clients?
Well, for several reasons. One, we do receive, we have a contract with Warren County. It fluctuates. Sometimes they're Warren County kids, sometimes they're Franklin County kids. I mean, it's a whole list of different counties that we service. So that would be one reason. Two, our home has been in Warren County. Our employees are here in Warren County. So us moving a facility somewhere extremely far, I think that would be very difficult for operations.
So what is a typical area that you do? You mentioned Franklin County, so Montgomery County up to Franklin County. I mean, where do you, Butler County, I assume?
Correct. All surrounding counties. I think our furthest county up, further up north would be maybe Erie. Erie County probably our furthest north.
Okay.
Great questions. So I'll end this on saying that with JP already mentioned, this is our only option. We've looked at every option we can. We've looked at all the different facilities that are available, and our realtor is going to speak a little bit more and deeper about that. But this is it for us. And if we do not get approval today, we will have to look at some type of option of disbanding our current boys, which causes, again, doesn't help them in their growth. It can cause the displacement can hurt their overall care. As you saw, the relationships we have with these kids, they've opened up to us and discussed therapy with us. With our therapist you'll speak with, we've built deep relationships with them. They trust us. To have to send them somewhere else that says, hey, they're going to take it, we don't care about them. We didn't do everything we could to keep them with us. Also, they have to start over in a different program, which unfortunately pushes back their time to possibly getting home or going to getting adopted. That changes everything for them. It changes their lives if we don't get our approval today. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. For my next section, I'm just going to go through as high level as I can for you. This was provided by JP through email. High level of what our program is, some safety procedures in the children that we serve, and address potential concerns and perceptions. So our core value has been and will remain our faith-based mission. Obviously, we were founded upon Christian principles and a burden to help a vulnerable population. While they're in our care, they're given opportunities to learn things that might seem simple to us, but just how to pray, how to read the Bible, how to accept and to give love appropriately. They participate in multiple churches, so currently they actually go to Solid Rock Inn. They have been going to Solid Rock Inn, Pastor Lawrence's new church, as well as different youth groups across the area. Our current community integration, I'm not going to read everything on this slide, but I think the important point to call out here is that since 2020, our residents have been part of the community. I know they live in our facility, but if you just gloss over some of these places that they go, they're already integrating successfully at the YMCA, at sports events, at athletic programs through their schools, at youth groups, like I mentioned, at movie theaters and arcades, museums, parks. I know there's been a conversation about a park. Our kids go to parks just fine. And you can see that educationally, and these young men mentioned that they go off campus to school. We've done successfully in that. So I can take questions on that, how it works currently for us. Happy to do so. But our goal typically is for our kids to be able to go off campus to get those experiences that you heard Dante talking about, or getting different skills that they might not get if they were just doing homeschool and stuff. But we do have that possibility if we need to use it. Community engagement is very important. So now that school is coming to an end, we're actually shifting over into work programming. Some of the photos up there, you can see them. They actually work and do jobs and they earn money from us. They volunteer, predominantly in Matthew 25 Ministries, and they've also done a lot of volunteer work at Solid Rock Church. They can get employment off campus. Actually, one young man who was back home, he went back home in April. He was employed at a local business while he was in our care. We have found great successes when there's engaged citizens that understand the mission and care and give their time to interact. So we've had people give their time to teach art lessons, guitar lessons, equestrian. Actually, that middle photo there is the Cincinnati Polo Club. They've recently helped Pastor Lawrence on the equine, just teaching them some polo skills. So the point is where you're seeking to add to the community and interact with it. I will keep this one brief, but I think it's important based on the concerns we've heard prior. I'm paraphrasing, but a statement is these kids are inside all day, of course they're gonna run and get into mischief. So you can see this is a Monday through Friday schedule that stays fairly consistent. So we're waking up, we're having breakfast, we have chores, we're doing team and skill building, we're having lunch. And then for a large portion of the day, we're actually off campus. So we're at school, we're doing summer programming, volunteering. We come back home, we have group therapy, dinner. And then the evening session, it can depend on the day, but it's equine therapy, individual therapy, phone calls to home, Bible studies, and volunteers. So we have one particular volunteer who's in that photo. Wanted to add this because it's actually from our security cameras, candid photo, but Kevin, who you met today, just going through a hard time, and she was here just donating her time, playing games with them, and he asked for prayer, and she gave him prayer. So those are the kind of things that we like to integrate into our schedule for the kids. And then between 8:30 and 9, we're getting ready for bed, and then lights out at 9:30. And so structure and routine is important. These kids have not learned it. So part of the program is for them to learn how to do that. Obviously being engaged, build skills, and then heal. It's been talked about a lot, but why this location works. The rural setting aligns with our program structure. The physical view and feeling on the actual property is important to call out. So this is an overhead, and this is the best depiction of the experience that our kids will get. Because with the facility layout, it is 2 levels. The first level faces Shawhan Road. That level will be used for adults and offices and visitors that come. The lower section that faces the back of the property is where the kids' main living quarters will be, including where that pool is going to be taken out and repurposed into concrete side with basketball courts. So it seems like a small example. I think a lot of the conversation is them getting out so that their entrances, exits are facing the back. And then from a vision perspective, this does provide them a space, separation, and a therapeutic environment, because that's what they're going to be seeing every day as they wake up and look outside. Equine therapy, JP did a good job of talking about that. In the layout, part of what makes this so great is that it is most ideal for our operations currently and where we want to take them versus the restrictions and challenges that we have at Solid Rock. So we appreciate being able to be there, but structurally the flow of it, there's a lot of exits. In our lobby there's 6 or 7 doors. In our gym there's 10 doors. So by having this facility, we can structure it with better exit points specific to one floor, which is going to help security for the kids, the staff, and the community. Quickly on infrastructure, we provide healthcare needs, which minimizes need for EMS services. We have rigid fire protocols and inspections, as I'm sure you can imagine, but we don't anticipate having any fires. And the vast majority of incidents that occur, so a heightened situation we consider an incident, the vast majority of those occur within our facility with our staff. So these are troubled youth, they do have traumas and triggers, but it typically happens with us. And law enforcement is only contacted when necessary, which I'll cover, I think, a little bit more detailed in a moment here. With safety, we do have a structured environment. I think the schedule was a good indication of that, but it's a structured environment, supervised 24/7. Security measures we use are inside of the state accreditation, which is Ohio DYS. We have a trained team of professionals define procedures for any incidents, and an advanced security system ability at 507 Shawham Road. So I talked about the overall layout of the land and the property. We've been in, feels like 100 meetings with different security programs to update what we currently have now with camera coverage, alarms, things of that nature. They're gonna help us, again, stay more secure. And then we do review resident behaviors prior to acceptance. So violence, overt law breaking, fire starting and behaviors like self-harm and addiction that are active will require stabilization prior to coming. But those other ones, violence, overt law breaking, fire starting, that's actually in our policy, in our handbook. Those are kids, unfortunately, that we cannot accept. This is difficult to see, I know, but supervision and staffing has come up. I feel like we have answered this question, but to just put it up there, to be clear, the state of Ohio, for a QRTP, which is what we are, they require for every 10 kids, you have 1 staff member during waking hours. So let's take a look to the right with the photo. Like Dietrich said, we have 10 residents. This is last week or the week before the schedule, 5/18. If you look at the green colors specifically, that's first shift. So that's early morning. There's 3 people. And then if you look at second shift, those are all the blue colors. That's 3 people. And the weekend has even more. So just with direct care staff, in the blue and the green, that's 10-3, which is well above the state ratio. That doesn't include those orange and pink lines that you see, which is leadership. Whether that's our case manager, a program coordinator like Mr. Fuller, or other leaders. This schedule also does not include our therapy team, or Mr. Johnson and myself. So without doing quick math, we're well above the ratio with direct care specialists on top of leadership, supervision, and support. Outcomes and successes, could spend a lot of time here. I won't go through every bullet point. I just want to highlight 2 things. The first 2 photos you see of the young man in the military uniform and at the podium, his name is Ryan. He was the first graduate of our program from Warren County. Bullet pointed situation, he was 13 years old, bad living situation with parents. He actually was the one who, for lack of a better term, gave up his parents to CPS and to law enforcement. So that him and his siblings were removed from the home. He went into a deep depression because he felt like that was his fault. He split his family up. Spent some time at Children's stabilizing before he came into our care. And throughout 6-7 months in our program, totally turned it around. And when he left our program, he went into a foster home because he couldn't return home, obviously. Went to Lakota, graduated at the top of his class, was a varsity wrestler, and then upon graduation went to Army basic training. That's the photo you see. He graduated, he did so well in that program, they actually elevated him to a leadership program, and he is currently in South Carolina doing his full-time job in leadership programming. He wanted to be here, but he can't be, he's in South Carolina. So that's one story that we can share, and there's a bunch. The other bullet points on there are just different outcomes that have occurred. You've heard from Eli today with high school graduation. We've gotten college scholarships. But the last bullet point I have here that's highlighted, in the last 12 months, we've had 16 discharges or 16 kids that have left on good terms to lower levels of care. So that'll be a foster home, returned home, or adoption. So I think that's an important statistic that to us shows that our program does work when we're sending more than 1 kid home a month, either back home, being adopted, or to a lower level of care, which is foster care. Last 2 slides here on understanding at-risk youth. Just quickly defining it, understanding that they are young individuals facing higher probabilities of negative outcomes due to factors like poverty, negligence, or lack of resources. With treatment, like what we provide, they can be highly successful. Currently, approximately 50 foster homes in Warren County, which is about 100 kids, or at-risk youth. Midwestern Group Home that the JP highlighted is about a 10-minute drive from the Morrow area. They also serve the same age range as us, which is 11-17. They have 24 kids. The distinction there, though, is they're a group home. So they're not QRTP like us. They are less restrictive. So for example, if a young man walks out my front doors and he's out of my sight, I need to notify him as a missing person by law. In a group home, that's not the case. You can come and go as you please. So hey, it's kind of like being at home almost. They're more so like cabins than they are a secure facility. So the point here is that other at-risk youth are already in the area, the same criteria that our kids fall under. And last but not least, we do support at-risk youth who we believe deserve opportunities, not criminal stereotypes. While some may fear potential misconduct, data shows these fears don't align with reality. Our youth do not seek to commit the crimes they are feared of committing. You heard that in the flesh from Kevin today. Furthermore, I'll reiterate, our program strictly excludes anyone with predatory behavior, habitual delinquency, fire starting, and behaviors needing stabilization. And if I may, I just have a memorandum document with anticipated community questions and operational facts for you guys, so that way, if you have any questions or after the community speaks, it will be a kind of simple document to review.
Oh, I have some questions for you.
Please do, yeah.
So, I read through our sheriff's report dealing with calls to your facility by law enforcement. And I went through each one of those records, and so I'm wondering, it seems like there's a substantial drop-off of calls in 2026 from 2025 and 2024. Is that just coincidental, or have you changed your criteria for acceptance of the type of boys that you will have at the Restoration Ranch and excluded some who had more propensity to generate calls to law enforcement? So that's my question, if that was clear. Because I've looked at the charts that we've been provided, and I've seen, and they are categories by date and time and what the problem was. And it appears that this year, you're very different, but maybe I'm wrong.
You're correct, great question. Yes, we have changed things. I would say it's predominantly two things. Part of it was a team member shift. In the last meeting, there were some prior team members that came and spoke, and we did well to rid us of that. So caliber of staffing was a pain point during those times. We weren't executing what we needed to execute. We have an awesome team now today. The second point that you hit on, we have changed criteria. So with any business, you kind of learn. So these things are on our policy that we do not take and never have, never will. Where we've changed is more so with the running. And so before we could
With
look
the
at
what?
with running A-ball walk-offs.
Okay, so let me ask you this. I don't want to cut you off
No, you're good.
completely here, but, so the audience understands, if there's anybody listening to this, juveniles can be categorized roughly into two categories that might come to your facility. One is something called delinquency. Delinquency has two types of delinquency. One, and the reason why I know a lot about this, even though I've never practiced juvenile law, my dad was probably the best known juvenile judge in the country in the 1980s and 1990s. This Judge David Grossman, he was the presiding judge of the Hamilton County
That is
Juvenile
true.
Court. And,
Look it up.
and so, any event, juveniles can commit something called a status offense. Only juveniles can commit a status offense because their status is a juvenile. Like they drink underage,
Right.
They don't go to school, they run away, they're disobedient to their parents. It's a status offense. Then there are crimes that
Yep.
anybody can commit: burglary, assault, battery, all sorts of different crimes. So you've got delinquency that's based on the status offense, and you've got delinquency that's based upon a criminal offense that anybody can commit. Then you've got juveniles that are abused and neglected. It's not them, they're not the problem, their parents are the problem. The people that are taking care of them are the problem. So, I want to understand the category of children, of boys that you're accepting, and whether that's changed, that would maybe relate to the calls. So, do you accept delinquent children, both status and criminal type of offenses? It's not a crime to commit as a juvenile, that's why they call it delinquency, because juveniles can't commit crime. And there is a way to take a juvenile that the court cannot handle, or feels that the juvenile court can handle, to make them an adult and go to adult court. But juveniles are delinquents, and they can have status offenses or real crimes. And I'm not saying the status offense is not a real crime. My kids disobeyed me, I thought it was a real crime. But in any event, the other thing is abused and neglected. Tell me what your population is in those categories.
So of those three, predominantly be abused and neglected, and then the status offenses. So your running, your truancy, things of that nature. As far as criminal, some of that falls into, if it's a very violent type of criminal behavior, they wouldn't qualify
But it
for
appears
ours.
that you've cordoned off certain
Yes.
things that are are delinquencies that are crime for anybody, and you're excluding the people that are, you say, that they assault, battery, violent offenses, those types of things, you don't accept those.
Correct.
Do you accept kids that have been accused of burglary, of stealing, things like that?
So accused or convicted?
Well, I mean, they're
I'm sorry, yeah.
adjudicated, or, and
Adjudicated,
they're
yeah.
adjudicated, are they adjudicated delinquent because of property offenses?
That one depends. I would say erring on the side of no, but that one comes down more to what's the history, how long ago was it, what's the frequency? So did this happen one time we were 10 years old and we stole candy from a store, or are we talking serious?
So do you have kids that have a history of assault and battery, things like that?
Mhm.
Okay.
Great questions.
But the frequency of your calls has been pretty high. In 24 and 25, according to the sheriff's report, you have a lot less residents than Midwestern Children's Home, but yet the frequency of calls is double.
I think that goes into your initial question. We've adjusted some things based with staff. So some of those calls I know, for example, were staff members. So typically when we engage with a resident, because sometimes we have to go hands-on to restrict things, we have a process that we do that we all do well. There was one particular individual that didn't, would get harmed, and then would call to file an assault charge. So to us, that's not typically what we do. So there was a high amount from that alone. And secondarily, what we've changed, I guess it would be a status offense. When we look at AWOLs or running, that was the other one. So when we look at a kid's
But you
history.
occasionally get a real call. I mean, there's some serious stuff on here too.
Was it assault?
Uh,
So those are the main-
Fire, auto theft,
Fire?
yeah.
Oh, years ago, I'm sorry. Okay. Before my time, before
Yeah.
my time.
There's some reports on it. Again, I don't want to go down the
Yeah, it's
entire
okay.
list, but I don't want to gloss it over. It's just kids walking away all the time. I mean, it's
Yeah.
according to the sheriff's report.
What's that? Yeah, so that would be the adjustments that we made, dealing with, when we look at a kid's file, making sure that those type of things aren't there. And that's the difference that you've seen from 24, 25 to 26 now, and the sending 16 kids home. The kids that we've come to find that work the best here is the right mix. At that time, we didn't quite know what it was.
But I take it you get the right to choose whether you take a particular boy or not.
Correct.
So if Franklin County's juvenile court wants to send you someone that's a serious offender, you don't take that person.
Correct. Can I give you a quick example? I actually had probably 10 referrals this week, and I can think of 2 off the top of my head. I forget the counties. But one was the kid ran from his previous facility, broke in somewhere and hurt somebody. That's a no. The next step, when we see a referral that we think could work, we actually talk to the caseworker, then we interview the kid. But just to give you an example of a referral I read this week, that's not a kid that I even interviewed or would accept. And I'm not forced to accept anybody that's sent to me.
Okay.
That's fine. We can ask the sheriff directly,
Yeah.
you know,
I
the
appreciate
nature
the
of the
questions.
calls.
Yeah. Anything else for me right now?
Yeah,
Thank you. Who's on with next?
Mike?
All right. Here comes, oh, actually, I just wanna, if I can hand these to you, you mind?
Sure.
Hello, my name is Carol Moore Dorsey, and I am an associate partner with Coldwell Banker Heritage in Springboro. And I've been selling real estate for about 23 years, so I know what I'm doing. I was contacted by the Restoration Ranch to help them find a new facility. I actually got a commercial agent involved. His name is Pat Williams, and he's actually the #1 commercial real estate in the state of Ohio agent. And we were unsuccessful in trying to find a commercial property, and so I typically just do residential, and so I started searching for something for the Restoration Ranch, knowing that they needed to vacate their facility. I am a Dayton and Cincinnati agent, and my search criteria was Warren County, and I looked through over 200 listings trying to find an appropriate property for the ranch. And I think I came up with maybe 4, And we looked at 3 that were clearly not going to be able to take care of the ranch. And then I found this one here at 507 Shawhan. And I printed off a listing for you if you would like to see them. So that I printed off the listing so that you could see that it's a home. And I felt like for me, part of I knew that the Restoration Ranch would not fit in a traditional neighborhood. So trying to find a facility that would accommodate the children, it wasn't easy, to be perfectly honest. I searched and searched and searched. We found this property and we felt like it was a good fit. We brought in somebody like a construction manager to like make sure that we could make the modifications. We brought the fire department in. We did everything before we wrote the offer, doing due diligence that a person came from the state of Ohio to approve the building. And we got a good pass for, everybody gave their approval. And so we proceeded, we wrote the offer, we got it accepted, we've been through inspections, and now we're just waiting on a vote, a yes from you guys, hopefully. So anyway, I just feel like for me as a mother and as a grandmother, I have a burden for children that are in the foster care, and I feel like except for the grace of God, there could go us, right? And so I feel like these children deserve a chance, and they deserve to live in a home and not some type of warehouse or most of these children are there because of no fault of their own. It's because of the situation that they've been, the cards in life that they've been dealt. And so I'm honored to represent the Restoration Ranch and to help them in their search for a property. And if you would like, I can share the listing with you so that you can see that it's a home. Is that okay? I made a little printout, not knowing exactly. I've never been to a zoning commission. So this is what I use to like search and find their property. And then you can see that the home will accommodate the children. And there is a detached garage that they mentioned. And when they say garage, it is massive. It can hold several large motorhomes. It's heated, it has a restroom in it, and it would be a great facility for the kids to be able to have extracurricular activity in. It's just, and it has the barn so that they can do the equine therapy. And the pool is going to be filled in, and the owners have agreed to take care of that before we close.
So, what is your name again?
It's Carol Moore Dorsey.
So, am I correct that you were married to Bruce Moore?
Yes.
Okay. So
Yeah.
he was a wonderful man. I know he's deceased. I was very sorry to
He
hear,
passed
but
away
he was on
10 years
He was
ago.
on Springboro Council.
Yes, I was on
And-
city council in
And
Springfield, yes.
just to be in fairness, I don't think I've seen you for years, but I
It's been a
represented
minute.
Bruce. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Sitting there, I was like, boy,
She looks familiar.
She looks familiar.
That's
And when
what
you
she
said
was
your
leaning down
name,
to tell me that.
I
Yeah.
knew. It's good to see you again,
Thank
and I'm
you.
glad you're doing so well.
Thank
That
you.
was
It's
really-
good to be here, and I'm happy and I feel honored to work with the ranch to try to find a home for these children, to give them a chance in life. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Afternoon, almost. My name's Lauren Klaus. I'll be really quick. I just addressed, I am a board member of the Restoration Ranch. I've been on there for 3 years or so now. We have a very active board, which I love. I've served on some other nonprofits, and it's like you meet quarterly, you say a few things, but our board is very hands-on. If there's anything that Dietrich or Chris ever need, I think we're pretty available, and we're also up to date on what the needs are. Are there any issues? What's good? What's bad? What's going on? So I love that about this organization. The other thing is I'm an attorney. I've practiced for 17 years in Warren County. I've had offices in Springboro and Mason. I primarily have practiced in family and juvenile court. Tons of children's services cases. I see familiar faces. But this program, and I've worked with Midwestern, I've worked with other ones in Cleveland and other group homes for children. This is much different than that. I see the success stories that come out of here versus the kids, my own kids in cases that would be placed in other locations and homes that were not successful. So I'm passionate about this and helping this organization as well too, but we have a lot of different diverse professions, teachers, we've had doctors, attorneys on the board too, which is helping make this program a success. The one other thing I wanted to touch on, which there was some opposition to the last time, is how this program is going to be draining the resources of the community if we move here, specifically the school district. There were some statistics thrown out about the millions of dollars it's going to cost the local school district to educate the children that come in, and that's simply not the case, because many times when children are placed through a juvenile court, and if they're in the children's services system, wherever they come from, that school district bears a burden of the cost of educating the children. So they're not going to come into Warren County, and now Warren County's going to have to pay for education. They are, you know, if it's Franklin County, if it's another school district that isn't the district here, they bear the burden of educating the children. So that was a big thing that I think was an issue for a lot of the residents in the community, and I just think that's not the case. So really, I just feel like this is needed based off of my years of practice and the kids that I've dealt with, and I really think that we can continue. We just, as it's been said, we just can't stay where we're at, and I would really hate to see the great success stories see this end. So hope you take that into consideration.
Before you sit down, explain to me again the school point. So you're saying that who has responsibility for educating these children? That they're going to be living in Warren County.
Sure.
And in this particular case, they're going to be in Union Township.
And I think the distinction too, they're technically not residents of Warren County, they are placed here. Yeah, and again, the difference too would be if they're independent, I know there's direct placements, I think Chris had said, and I'm not sure about that, but when they're placed by a court, and during the, you know, Department of Job and Family Services, the Children's Services Agency is involved, which is a lot of them, and they're placing the children because either they're abused, neglected, or dependent, or there's nowhere else to go. The court then says whatever school district they came from, and in many of the court orders, you can pull up a court order, if they agree to the placement and that's where it is here, then they say where the children came from, that school district is responsible for the cost of educating the
How does that work? I mean, that's what I'm curious about. So let's say you've got a boy that is in Hamilton County in the Cincinnati school system. And the juvenile court, one of the two judges decides that they want that child to be placed in Restoration Ranch. So they go up to, you know, let's say it's in Turtle Creek Township, and let's say we approve this, or if this happens, it would be in Union Township. So how does Cincinnati school system pay for that child who may go to, what school would be, would be Little Miami or Kings? Kings. How does that happen?
I guess I'm not in on the back end of it, and actually, to be fair, Alexis might know a little more than I do because she worked with Children's Services. But I don't know if they have like a cost per child to educate. So if if it says it costs, I'm just picking a number, $6,500 to educate a child for the school
The
year.
Cincinnati City Schools then pay for that? They
my
transfer the money to that school system?
Well, yeah. Okay, so
That's
yeah,
good.
it sounds like
Yeah.
Commissioner Jones probably knows, again, I don't deal with the back end of it, I'm never involved in the financing piece of it, I just know from a court-ordered standpoint, you will say a district that's responsible for education.
Okay,
If they
that's
bill 'em-
interesting, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Thank
so,
you.
that's my knowledge of being in the system with it, I'm sure there's other people who may know a little more than I do. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Good to see you.
Hello, thank you guys so much for your time. I won't be before you long. My name is Karma Foster, and I am a licensed independent social worker who is the lead therapist at Restoration Ranch. I oversee all of the clinical services provided to our youth, which is a vital, critical part of their programming and services that they received, as you saw on the schedule and programming. My role is just to oversee the clinical services of the youth that we serve. We have a multidisciplinary team that includes licensed therapists, case management workers, as well as specialized trauma-informed care providers that we have, including chemical dependency on site. I just think it's important that I reiterate who our youth are. Our youth are not, as Chris explained earlier, violent offenders. I have worked in Montgomery County, Warren County, Butler County, and Hamilton County as a children's services caseworker prior to coming to Restoration Ranch. And the children that we serve are youth that are abused, that are neglected, that don't have any type of stability, and they are in need of stability in our care. One of the concerns that has been raised, we've talked about this a little bit, is about the youth leaving our facility. And again, I just want to reiterate that when a youth does leave the facility, their intent is not to commit a crime. They are actually looking for connection. They are looking for familiar, faces, people, places when they become overstimulated and unregulated. I just think it's important as leadership. It really, does not benefit our youth to see them as a problem, but it is our responsibility to help. And that's exactly what we do at Restoration Ranch with a full clinical team, trauma-informed staff that works together to provide the necessary skills for them to return to our community. Any questions for me? Thank you.
How y'all doing today?
Good.
Good. My name is Akeem Fuller, and I am the program coordinator. So I see much of the day-to-day operations at the ranch. I provide and hire staff for the boys. My experience, I actually been working all over probably Warren County. I started right over here at the Juvenile Detention Center in 2014, somewhere around there. I was there with Lieutenant Brewster. I don't know if you guys know all them over there that's still there right now. Judge Kirby, he was the boss, so I think he still is the boss that's running it over there. I worked under them for like 5 years, and then I moved on to Warren County Educational, ESC, so I worked for them. So I've been dealing with these type of kids for a while now. I mean, I have to say it's actually my calling. I was over there at the ESC for about 4 or 5 years as well. So the behaviors and the kids that I dealt with over at the JDC, man, one thing that we do at the ranch is just safety and security. These kids need a safe spot, and the safe spot that we provide for them, that's where it all starts, so they can grow and blossom into the place, to people that we need them to be. When I left over there at the ESC, I got hired on over here at the Restoration Ranch due to, just my background and my experiences with all the kids and dealing with their behaviors. Man, I have so many success stories with these type of kids and these behaviors. What I do hate to see is that they get left in the dark a lot by a lot of people who don't know them, and a lot of people who just hear things about them, like they're these bad kids or this. Man, they just was raised in a tough environment, and they need the love and the support of the community and the staff that we have. I would like to say, to get to what you said about the drop-offs on the call, I like to take a lot of credit on that, because I felt like I dove in and I hired a lot of staff that know how to handle and deal with the boys. I guess a lot before we came to the ranch, it was just, as soon as they act up, we calling the cops. But no, we have to learn how to dig in our heels and deal with these kids, and instead of calling the law just because they're acting up and just because they're mad or whatever, their typical behaviors. So I focused in a lot on bringing in the right staff, like this Mr. Keynes, and he was there before I got there, but he was probably the only one that was there before I got there. Mr. Cornell, it's a great staff there that making sure these kids are not out just, as soon as they get mad, they have their behaviors of AWOL. I mean, that's their biggest behavior, is just like it's flight or fight. So when they get upset, they just know that behavior. This is what I did the past 10 years of my life. I ran. I'm going to do it now because I'm upset. But now we have put the staff and kids in place, or the staff in place, to make sure those numbers have went down. To when they have, a behavior that Mr. Cornell was there, and to deal with it, they don't run. They know how to work through it. With Miss Karma and all of them, the therapist who works tirelessly for these kids, it's just, they're doing a number. They're doing a number on them. And just to see where they go after they leave. They love to contact us. They love to, hey, thank you for this and thank you for that. And they find you on social media just to say, hey, the things you taught me in there, I know I didn't really listen as well, but I understand now, and I'm using what you taught me to be successful for where I am. So these kids just gotta have that safe environment, and I think this place of moving over here in this home type environment, it's gonna do a number for a lot of these kids who haven't even been able to have to say they have their own home. A lot of these boys, they don't have fathers in their life. So I got majority, I think, 3 female staff. That's like a mother to a lot of these kids that we have, and the rest are all godly men that just, they're married, they got their own wives and kids and things like that, that's pouring into these young men to let them know that they can have a better life. So, so that's the type of culture we're trying to present over there. So they're still gonna have their behaviors, because behaviors it takes a lot longer than 6 months to a year that we can provide to change those behaviors, but we're pouring in so much and we see the positive outcome, and less numbers of AWOLs and less numbers of calls to the police, and less number of kids that sometimes that goes to the hospital and do whatever. So I would like to take credit in some of that, but not all of it. But it's just a team thing, and as a community, to see all these people here, they may not be here to support the ranch, but they still here. And that's a good thing that we see, because I think in the back of their minds, they still care about those kids. Everybody in this room will want to see these kids be successful. So we're going to continue to keep doing that, and we're going to continue to keep moving forward and making sure that these kids have a safe place and safe environment.
So I've read through the sheets from 24, 25, and 26 on calls to law enforcement.
Right.
It appears to me that almost all these calls relate to incidents at the ranch itself. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So it does not appear to me, but you tell me if I'm wrong, that the calls relate to a boy at the ranch leaving the ranch. Now, that's a runaway. You'll be reporting that, I take it, right?
Yeah, that's the protocol.
And that's included in this.
Right.
But I don't see, it's not clear to me that I'm seeing a record of a juvenile leaving the ranch and burglarizing, assaulting, or doing some predatory behavior in the neighborhood. Am I wrong about that?
No, you're right. You don't see that, right?
I didn't see
No,
that.
yeah, no.
I'm asking you the question.
No,
I'm asking you the question because it's not obvious from the list that that's occurring. It could be, I guess, but that's why I'm asking you. You have incidents, because I think that the residents in the area we're going to be hearing from them, and I'm assuming something that's maybe not true, is that they're concerned not so much about acting up or doing something within the home.
right.
What I think they're concerned about is what might happen in the neighborhood if they leave without supervision, and that is run away or leave when they're not supposed to, or they do something at a local school to their children that may attend there, and that is assault, battery, or stealing from them or something like that. So that's my question. Are the reports that we're hearing related? Do you have any reporting of the boys doing something to neighboring property, to neighboring people, to school children in the area if they're going to the schools?
No, when they do leave, the most reports we get is they get an obstruction charge because they're running from the cops or trying to get away. But it's never really been reports that they went to a gas station and robbed somebody, or they went to this person and beat this person. There's no reports of that. Their main focus is they just want to get away. They need a break, and most of their eyes, they just need a break from that place because it just gets to be so much at some time that they can't handle it. But we know that's part of their behavior that we're trying to get them to do, because it gets you to stay a little bit longer even though you don't want to be there.
So if somebody were to run away, are they running away and then just hitchhiking, getting a ride with somebody? I mean, how far can you go?
It depends. I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, some boys have done it for so long they're better than others. Some of them can get to a place to where, like, they're found in Middletown. Like, how did you get there? Once they're caught by the cops, it's like, hey, the first person I seen gave me a ride. And then that's another whole thing. Is like, man, you know how dangerous that is. Like, you didn't set yourself up. This person could have locked you and did whatever, but they want to get somewhere, but they're not robbing, shooting, stealing.
But you don't have incidents of, here's what I'm really focused on. you don't have incidents of your boys leaving your facility and going in and committing crimes in the neighboring community.
No, sir.
And ask the sheriff about that.
Any more questions?
Thank you for being here.
Good afternoon. My name is Maria Muma, and I am the case manager for the Restoration Ranch. I deal with everything, all the caseloads. So I deal with the counties, I deal with the schools, I deal with the parents. It all runs through me. I did want to hit on one topic, and that was for the school. So when it comes to the residents and the surrounding school in the actual county itself, the likelihood of a resident actually going to King's is like 1%.
Why is that?
Because of their background. So so I work one-on-one with the school. So I give them their IEPs, their ETRs, and their background history. So when they are presented with the actual resident and their history, they determine whether or not they're going to go to the school. So if the resident, let's say, has behaviors to where they're, they have outbursts or they just need more one-on-one care, they will have a sister school that they'll go to, or they'll homeschool at the ranch. Or, so for instance, we had residents from like Montgomery County who actually went to the ESC in Montgomery County. So like Lauren was stating, their county or where they're coming from will pay for them to actually go to that school. So the likelihood of them actually going to King's is very, very unlikely. So I wanted that to kind of.
Well, of the current people, how many current boys are at Restoration Ranch?
So right now we have 10.
Okay, and I think
Yes.
that somebody
And
mentioned
we only
that.
have one that goes to,
Monroe?
yes, correct.
Only one.
Only one. And that was the
But
11-year-old.
they're all, obviously, they're all under 18.
Yes.
Because when they get to 18, they age out and they're adults. Do they then have to leave the ranch at that point?
So we personally keep them till 19 if
Okay.
needed. So let's say, because that last year, that transitional part is really hard for them. So I'm also the independent living coordinator. So Eli, who was 18, I work with him. I got him into college. So I do the scholarships and I got him an apartment. So there's programs after the ranch as well that we do. I still keep in contact with all the residents up until 6 months, if not more, if they want me to, of course. I go visit them, so I will take the drive to Columbus or to Erie County to go visit a resident to make sure that even though they're outside of our care, that we're still keeping in contact because we really genuinely care about the boys. We don't just want them to go through our program and just leave and
So
we're
the
done.
other 9, you have one in Monroe right now.
Correct.
And the other 9 are either homeschooled or they're in another type of schooling?
Correct. So the older 2 boys, Eli, who's getting ready to graduate next week, and Kevin, they go to Marshall. So Marshall is a charter school. So they're like credit based. So they can actually, because most of their stuff is online, but they're at the school, they can go as fast or as slow as they want to for graduation. So it's actually really, really nice.
So if you were to purchase, and so let's say that this is, I'm not saying this is gonna happen, but let's say that this is approved today,
Correct.
to change the want,
Yeah.
and you buy this facility, when would you be moving in there?
The fall? The fall.
In the fall?
Yes.
And at that point, if the children or the boys that you've got there are going to school, they would then, you would say only one of them would go to King's, is that right?
That's, I mean, the one who, if he's still in our care, the one who's going to Monroe would most likely be the one who goes to King's.
And
He's
the
he's
other
only
9
11
would be
years old.
going to different facilities like they're going now. They're not going
Correct.
to Monroe, they would be going to something else.
Correct, yes.
And as you get new boys in, is that same kind of percentage typical?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and that is a huge thing to keep in consideration with considering this facility in South Lebanon. And I would also like to note, I'm a former South Lebanon resident. I recently moved. I actually worked at Bernie's, the homeless shelter that's in there. And that is directly in the center of town. So, and that we housed adults with mental illness, addiction problems that were homeless. Now, we also have a process there as well to where we screen people, we have to do background checks, and that's what we do at the ranch. So if we're just in respect of everyone who is in South Lebanon, because I genuinely understand their concern, and it's warranted. I mean, it's, you know, anybody would have a concern, but we already have a facility in South Lebanon right now that house adults that are similar to the residents, if not worse than the residents that are coming in at the ranch. So I just wanted to make that note as well. So, and I actually worked at Bernie's. Any more questions?
Yeah, I think this is, you know, number one, I'll say, again, God bless all you that work at the ranch and the mission that you do, which is great. But I think you're touching on, honestly, almost the most critical point of y'all have talked about community. And, you know, everybody wants everybody to survive and thrive in the community, but then how do you define community? Is it Warren County? Is it Kings School District? Is it Southwest Ohio? Is it all Ohio? Is it we're taking kids that have had unfortunate, no fault of their own circumstances, and now we're bringing them here?
Yeah.
And the school question is paramount. That people choose to live in certain communities because, in large part, economic opportunities, their job, and their school for their kids.
Right.
And then, so people are obviously very sensitive of, these kids don't even live here, and now you're gonna bring in kids that potentially could harm, threaten, disrupt my children, and then, as Lauren talked about, the cost associated with that. That it's not, you know, I think King's is probably $10,000 or $12,000 per student to educate them. A lot of them, however, if you have children that need additional services, it's not 10 or 12,000. It could be 50,000. It could be 100,000.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting who actually pays that delta between those two numbers. But if you're representing that, okay, we've got 10 kids in the ranch right now. In one of the documents I saw that it talked about Monroe, but it also talked about Lebanon schools, that somebody went to Lebanon, that you have alternatives to public high schools and public education. We had one of those in Warren County, the alternative school, for a long time. Yeah. We have the Warren County Educational Service Center, which takes kids that have been troubled. So you're saying that it's not representative to say en masse, whether it's 10 kids or whether it's 20 kids, a good portion of those are going to wind up in the local public school system. You're telling us that that's not the case.
Correct. That is rare. Yes. That is honest. Yes. And just to note that the resident who actually who went to Lebanon, came from Lebanon. So he was already affiliated with that school. That's the only reason why he went back. So because of the population that we serve, they're not going to go to a normal school. They're going to go to a charter school or an affiliate school or sister school of some sort. So the likelihood of them actually, and the only reason why Dante goes to Monroe is because he's low level, he's low functioning, and his IEP works with their, they actually have a program that actually helps him. So he can actually thrive in Monroe's atmosphere. So if King's, let's say we have a resident that's low functioning, has a disability, a learning disability that King's could actually, facilitate or, have, then he would go to King's. But as far as the behavioral side of it, which is most of our residents, the majority of the kids that we serve, they will not go to King's. That's honest. So yeah. And I know it's hard to see that or it's hard to know that, but because I work directly with the school systems, I'm telling you that that's exactly what would happen. So that fear shouldn't even be there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right. Thank you for your attention. That concludes our case in chief, I realize this is not a formal administrative hearing, but we would respectfully ask for the opportunity to provide a closing statement and rebut any inaccuracies that do come up during public comment. But that's all we had to present at this time. So thank you very much, and we look forward to speaking with you in a little bit.
Is there anyone else here who'd like to speak in favor of the application?
I can. Hello, my name is Elvis Bishop, and I live in the property connected to Solid Rock Church, where the boys actually stay. And I think, yeah, they come twice a week to our property to ride horses and do their equine therapy. And they're always super excited to be there, always super happy and friendly, and always respectful. And I've probably, the past 3 years, they've never done anything to our property, or they haven't came on our property when they're not supposed to. And but yeah, they need a chance because they're good kids, and they're really respectful, and I think they deserve a chance to have a good life. And so yeah, that's what I got.
Well, thank you for that. Appreciate that. Anyone else like to speak in favor?
Oh, well, just quick. Elvis's dad, Lawrence Bishop, and I knew less than zero about starting a program. I was preaching at the church I formerly pastored, and the lady brought 2 foster babies up there and said they got to go back to the state. Their brothers, they're going to be separated. Could you pray for them? I was like, God, why don't somebody do something about the foster problem in Ohio? And he said to my heart, why don't you? So I just got up and said, hey, we're going to start a children's home. People started clapping, started bringing money. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I know less than, I don't even know what I'm talking about. But miracle after miracle made this happen. Steve Geary called me a week later. He has one of the biggest children's homes in the eastern United States. He called me and he said, I heard you want to start a children's home. I said, yes, that's what God is speaking to my heart. He said, I just retired from Barberville, Kentucky, and I'm moving 10 minutes from your church in Westchester. I will help you. I'll hire your staff. I'll get you your license and all this. And I was just, oh my gosh, it's happening. And so miracle after miracle, it's happened. And I just want to say this program was God's idea. And he said pure religion is to take care of the widows and the orphans. And if we're only worried about our own kids and nobody else's, that's really not Christian. And like I said, these boys, they're around I have 2 sons, 16 and 14. These boys are around my boys twice a week. And they make friends with them. The boys that have aged out and graduated, many of them still call me and text me weekly. I've gotten some of them jobs on ranches in New Mexico and Oklahoma. And I'll ask them, are you doing good? Are you respecting the authorities? Yes, sir. Are you respecting your boss? Yes, sir. And I know we're making a difference. And people say that they want to help kids, but not here. Not here next, because they're afraid that it might somehow 1 little percent affect their lives. It's pretty selfish, according to what we're called to do by God, to help the orphans and the widows. And I can tell you, if we get this zoning, you guys are going to drive past that property and see people riding horses down there. These boys riding horses in their little helmets. And some of them, for the first time that I've ever seen them smile, is when we put them on a horse and they get their own special horse, get to name that horse, and it does so much for them. And these are not bad kids. These are kids that were born in bad situations, that have never had a good first chance, much less a second chance. And the last thing I'll say is, your county's going to be blessed for having this. You can drive by there and say, we done something good. We stood against selfish people that were only worried about themselves and not thinking about God's children. And if you'd hear some of the stories, it would break your heart of the hell that they grew up in, and some of the other programs that they were in, where they had to fight for their food, or they was afraid to take a shower, or they were afraid to do this, and they feel safe at our program, and I'm able to look at them in the eye and say, I promise you will never have to fight for your food. You will never have to be afraid in the shower. You will never have to be afraid in the bed, because I give my life to be sure that you're safe and you're always going to have everything you need. When they age out, I give them my phone number and I stay in touch with them, and they know that anytime they're in a jam, they can call me. And I've given my life to this program. The reason Steve Yeary said he would help me, he said 100 people have asked me to help them start a children's home. He said the reason I called you is because I heard you didn't even know it was a state-funded program. You were going to do it on, he said, everybody else was like, how much money can it make per year? He's like, you're the only one that didn't know it made any money. I said, no, I thought it would just come from donations like everything else. And so for the first 4 or 5 years, you know, I didn't take a salary. I provided all the horses, the saddles, the hay, the feed, the shoeing of the horses on my own dime, until somebody in the program said, hey, our CEO and founder is spending lots of his money on this and he doesn't take a salary. And so the board voted, they decided my salary and said, you need to, and I was like, well, if you want to give me one, I guess I got a spot for it. But so this was done by everybody. Some of these people have quit lucrative jobs to make less money to do this. So there's nothing more godly than you can do than not worry about if it inconveniences you at all, that you're willing to help somebody else's kids, and God will bless you for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak in favor? Seeing none, I want to turn to the opponents, but I'm going to ask the board here. I need to take a bio break if you want to stand down, or if you want to continue on, and I'll hurry. Okay.
Take 2 minutes.
We're just gonna stand down for a few minutes to just use the facilities, and then we'll be right back as quick as we can.
Second.